The landscape of the game, I think, would certainly look different. Some people say Slippi saved Melee. I don't know if I buy that. I think that might be a little too strong. Melee has, overcome a lot of adversity throughout the years. I think Melee is pretty strong and persistent. But I do think that the landscape today would not look the same as I think what it does now with good online play.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday show. My name is James Chen, and I am once again joined by Mr. UltraDavid, Mr. TuboWare. How are you guys all doing today?
I'm doing great, James. I'm currently watching Look Alive. They're playing video games on Look Alive, and I'm watching it right now. What about you, TuboWare?
You know, earlier today, I hit 4 dingers. I went yah-yah 4 times in a ranked match in Mario Superstar Baseball.
Yeah? With who? Who was your hitter?
PD Piranha hit 1.
Okay.
Donkey Kong hit 1.
Okay.
Hammer Bro hit 1, and Bowser hit 1.
Somebody's pitched to Bowser?
Somebody pitched about. They were foolish, and they felt it.
You played a noob, it sounds like. Somebody pitched to Bowser. Can you believe it, James? All right, here's what we're going to be talking about. AT&T Annihilator Cup. We'll talk all about it.
You're also leaning very close to the mic, David, or to the camera. Can you? Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Everything's working out great.
All right.
We're going to talk about the CPT Online commentary. We're going to talk about Rugal Bernstein, my boy, in King of Fighters 15. We'll have an interview with Fizzi to talk about Slippi and the evolution of Melee that I'm looking forward to. We're going to have some fun 5-5 viewer questions. We'll talk about some upcoming stuff, and then we got the mailbag to round it out.
Right.
But let's start.
Are we still sponsored?
Yeah, actually, technically we are until 2 days from now.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm going to leave
Get your orders in.
Get your orders in. Do it.
We technically are. Thanks for the sub, Hero. What's up, man? All right, so let's start talking about the AT&T Annihilator Cup.
Yeah, so this generated a lot of conversation. I didn't see any of it, so if one of you guys want to describe exactly what was going on with this thing here.
All right, the AT&T Annihilator Cup is a thing. Okay, go for it, TuboWare, apparently.
I know. I was just like, you were jumped in there. Go ahead.
All right, so it's a series of games that invites high-level esports streamers. Just streamers, I guess I should say, not necessarily esports.
Yeah.
High level streamers, people with big audiences, into a competition that revolves around several different games. So previously it was with Mortal Kombat 11, including a bunch of shooter games and whatever else. This time there is, I don't know, dude. This time there's Street Fighter 5. There is what is it? CS:GO. There's Halo. There's something else, a couple of other things. But anyway, one of the games is Street Fighter 5 this time. And so these players who are, in many cases, more known for other games, including shooters, but again, other stuff too, League and whatnot, they were invited to play this. And the winner of the whole thing gets a wild amount of money. There's $350,000 on the line for this. $350,000. So in this tournament, for the Street Fighter 5 section of it, there was round robin play among all these people, and then after that, the top 2 of each pool moved on to just play a regular single limb bracket, and it ended up being won by Doublelift, who's I had heard previously played Street Fighter. I remember him playing Street Fighter 4 back in the day. If you don't know, this is a very, very strong League player. He's been a pro for many years at this point. Long time. And second place was Lyric.
Clearly, he was only good at all these different games because he was good at fighting games first.
It's probably fighting games first, absolutely. So yeah, it was him, and then it was Lyric after that, and they were playing the fighting game, dude. Honestly, in that grand finals between those two, Akuma and Sagat, like, it wasn't high level play, but like they were they were playing the fighting game. Like they definitely knew what was going
But
on.
let me ask you this though: were the commentators calling it the greatest match you've ever seen and like the most hype thing you've ever hype Street Fighter match ever?
Yeah, those hacks that they hired for this. Tasty Steve and
Oh,
Rip.
was Steve part of it? Oh, okay.
Steve and Rip, yeah.
No, because I mean, I still remember.
Those hacks.
Because I still remember Twitch Rivals did something where they were playing Tetris, and like clearly these people were not good at Tetris, and the commentators like, "This is the most hyped Tetris I've ever seen. These guys are so good," and I was just like, "I want."
Well, maybe that was true. Maybe they've never watched Tetris before in their lives either. And then Golden Boy was the host, but like he also like he's been a fan of fighting games for a long time.
Yeah,
I remember at an MLG. I mean, most of a decade ago, maybe a decade ago, he interviewed me there for like King of Fighters or Mortal Kombat 9 or something at MLG. So like he was already interested in it back in the day. So anyway, he wasn't doing the live commentary. It was Steve and Rip. And then other than the top two and maybe like the top 3 or 4, most of the people who were playing, they didn't know how to play Street Fighter at all. They didn't know how to play fighting games at all. They were flailing around. They didn't know what was up. It was clearly for many of them the first time that they had ever tried to take a fighting game in any way seriously or competitively. And so many of them were just doing, the classic stuff that you see if somebody doesn't know what they're doing. Jump roundhouse, low roundhouse, that kind of, just the absolute classic stuff. Doing crouching fierce because they're trying to do fireball, but they couldn't get the motion out. And some people had the intel that they should pick E Honda and mash on the punch buttons.
That was Brian F's fault.
And mash on the punch buttons. And so there was a lot of struggling going on. And again, these are people who have big streams. They themselves are streaming at the same time, and so their chats, watching and involved as it's going on, and they're talking to their chats. And some of them talked about alternate things. Some of them talked about how having played a fighting game now a little bit more seriously, they think, oh wow, there's there's something to this fighting game stuff, and I can see the strategy in here, and oh, interesting, And other people are like, man, anybody who's good at fighting games is the greatest gamer in the world. The fact that you can do all these different hard things all at once, you are the genius of the whole video game world. Okay, and then other people, or in fact, even in some cases, the same people, although maybe in saltier moments, said things like, "Oh, this is awful. Like, I'm never going to spend more time on this. Fighting games are way too hard. This is absurd."
There was the one particular video, right? I mean, someone mentioned it. Wasn't it Noko there was somebody who kind of like had an angry rant about it and just talking about how fighting games were like way too hard and stuff like that. And I feel like that's what that video in particular generated a lot of the conversation.
Correct. Yeah. And again, he also later had a tweet where he talked about how like it was something that he it was like I think the phrase was eye-opening experience, and that there's a ton of skill, and so he gave big respect. So it wasn't that, like I said, that was like a saltier moment, clearly.
Dude, that's no excuse, man. Nobody should have any content out there affected by salt. You should never have salt affect you while you are streaming.
Oh my god.
No, I mean, like Serginho says in the chat, dude, that rage is very relatable. Very relatable, man. Sure. I have said some very questionable things in fits of rage of salt on streams, including Dan beats Cammy in Street Fighter 4. Yeah,
that's true. And then again, so this was an event that has happened before. Previously, one of the games that's been on it was Mortal Kombat 11, and at that time, the move that was the scrub killer was Shiva Stomp. Now, at that time, Shiva Stomp was good for sure. They later nerfed it, but a lot of people got really upset, including one girl who began crying about it, and literally, So that's kind of the history here. And anyway, it happened for Street Fighter V.
Can I point out that
you can jump in?
A fighting game player wanted to describe last year's event as Mortal Kombat and a bunch of other games, and This year there was Street Fighter and some other games. You understand that in both of those examples, the fighting game is the least played game out of all these
Absolutely.
5 games.
By an order of magnitude.
By a shitload. Yeah.
Actually, maybe not Mortal Kombat by an order of magnitude, but definitely still way fewer people playing them.
Yeah, way. Yeah. So anyways, this year, to give the games the due they deserve that David didn't give them, there's Street Fighter V, obviously. Yeah. Halo Infinite.
Yeah.
Dead by Daylight.
Okay, I didn't mention that.
Dead by Daylight and CSGO. I think that was all the games, wasn't it? Or am I missing one?
There were 5. I think you just mentioned 3.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think Street Fighter V, Dead by Daylight, CSGO, Halo Infinite, and shit. What was the 5th game?
I don't know. Remember.
This is like naming the 7 dwarves and the 7 deadly sins.
I get to forget things.
It was either Apex or Valorant.
Was it actually Uno? Was it? If it's Uno,
no, it wasn't Uno. It was Apex or Valorant.
It was actually Uno. That's exactly why I forgot about it. Anyways.
Because there were 3 shooter type games.
I do agree that at this point in time, I know last year when it happened, there was a heavy discussion on like which players were the most skilled and stuff like that, and whatever like that. Dude, they all are hard, but I mean, I think I mentioned this last year too as well, but I still believe this year. Not that fighting games are the hardest to learn. Not that fighting games are the you are the paragon of gaming if you are a fighting game player. But I still stand by the fact that fighting games are the least intuitive in this day and age because, FPSs, you move the mouse, you click, everybody's using mice and clicking and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like fighting games... I know I talked about this and everybody got mad at me about it, but like I said, when you're playing a shooter, it's intuitive to run and try to hide behind things and you can still die anyway. Yes, that doesn't make you good or whatever, but there's something about it that's intuitive that makes you feel like you're doing something. You're trying to survive.
Everybody has the mouse and they're clicking. And
right, but for fighting games, like this weird 2D plane where you're moving only left and right and you shouldn't be hitting buttons unless you're Honda, fighting games are just super unnatural and unintuitive these days because also video games have changed. Right? Street Fighter 2 was probably more intuitive during the days that everybody was playing Strider and Rastan and everything else that was a left and right kind of game and stuff. Nowadays, we're all playing first person, third person, 3D games and stuff. It's why I have trouble with 3D games because it's just not what I grew up on. It's not what I'm used to.
I was just going to ask you that because you said that these 2D games are weird. But you also say 3D games don't feel right.
Well, my point is that 3D games can do better. I just think that we're stuck in a rut where we're accepting everything that 3D games are doing. That's a completely different discussion. Yeah. My whole point is just that I just feel like a lot of people are not used to this kind of 2D style of play and hitting up for jumping and stuff like that. And there's nothing your life can relate to that will help you play fighting games. Like I said, the reason why I always mention this thing in about League and in shooters that you can run away. And sure, that doesn't necessarily mean you'll win. It doesn't necessarily help you win. You could also be hurting your team. But as a human, there's something intuitive that you feel like you can do. Whereas in fighting games, when you try to run away, sometimes you can't move because of proximity guard. What the hell is that? And then sometimes you get to the corner and you die. There's just nothing.
To caveat off that real quick, James. I don't disagree with you necessarily, by the way, but I do want to point out. David talked earlier about the streamer that took Brian F's advice to heart and mashed Light Punch with Honda. Mm-hmm. There was a tweet that Majin Obama quote tweeted earlier today that showed, or he was it was his own video and he was streaming, and he shows how she did something very important that no one really gave her credit for because they just saw her mashing Light Punch. But she walked up and she blocked a fireball. And then she walked up and she blocked a fireball. And then she blocked. And then she walked up and blocked a fireball and waited for Ryu to do something stupid and punished. And she got the biggest fucking grin on her face. So while I don't agree with you, I don't disagree with you about the feeling of being able to run away. I think that's fair. I also think there's a type of person where it's intuitive to go, oh, if I hold back, I block.
Oh
Like
yeah,
I think that it's natural for some people. It's not like this like completely foreign concept just because people play 3D games mostly now.
One of the things that I want, a caveat, and I fail to mention this all the time, is I'm not saying that this is universal across the board. There are exceptions to every situation. I think she is the exception. You know what I mean? I don't think that this is the majority. But there's definitely people out there who will do that. So, for example, like I've often talked about how Street Fighter V is a very different kind of fighting game than previous Street Fighters, and it's awkward. That's only true because the previous Street Fighter games catered to that. If Street Fighter V was the first Street Fighter game, it would be the exact opposite, and now something like Super Turbo would be weird. It's just, it depends on what the thing has pulled out. You know what I mean? It's all relative. And I just think in terms of fighting games, the relative is just that it's very hard to play fighting games from a very intuitive standpoint. It's one of the reasons why Dark Souls games are hard to play, because you can't mash in those games, right? And why people complain about the difficulty.
Boy,
Mash
yeah.
my way through the whole game.
Shout outs to having a 1.5-second long input buffer.
Oh,
What a
yeah.
genius. It's not actually that long, but it's quite long.
It's
Look, so as far as the utility of this tournament, I think it's great, honestly. I think it's really great to have a tournament that gets people who probably otherwise wouldn't look at fighting games to look at fighting games for a while. And I don't just mean the actual streamers who are competing themselves, but the fact that they have huge viewership. More people were watching Street Fighter V on that day for those hours than, I don't know, to pull something out of my hat without having any evidence, watched for the previous entire week. In terms of just like watch hours. Maybe the previous entire month. Like a ton of people were watching just because they like watching those streamers. And even the AT&T thing itself had a lot of people watching it. So that's great. Some of those people may think, oh, cool, like there's more in fighting games than I thought was here, and maybe they'll check it out. Now, probably not a ton, but to get more people watching and maybe ultimately playing would be really great. And I've often heard from people that the way that they got into fighting games was through somebody who was a streamer of fighting games, but maybe not like try hard, super competitive, like Maximilian, right? Like who has been good, years in the past, but obviously is not his focus. He's trying to get people into the games. Tons of people get into it like that, or from that kind of pipeline. And so I think that there's utility in that. That I really, really like. As far as the people who are talking about whether fighting games are hard or whether it's whether people who can play fighting games well are the best gamers, I just gotta tell you, I don't care. It just doesn't matter to me. It just doesn't matter to me. I think that having played not just fighting games, but most especially RTS games back in the day, but occasionally other competitive games too. Lots of games are hard, and they're hard in different ways. It's very rarely the case that they're same in the same way.
Huh?
What's that?
You just don't want to take teams in anything, huh? West Coast versus Midwest. I don't care who wins.
I don't care about that either. Yeah.
Fighting games are the best. I don't care.
I don't care. I don't need that. I don't need that external legitimacy. I don't need somebody to come in here and tell me like, "Hey, your game's hard," because like I know it is, and I'm enjoying that. That's part of what I enjoy about it, and I'm already having a good time. And there's already a lot of people who I can talk with about how I'm having a good time and how great these games are. So I don't really care if somebody else thinks that the games are hard, or if they don't think that the games are hard. If they think the games suck, I don't care at all. What I do want is more people to play the games. And so again, that I think is useful. I really like that side of it. But what somebody other than that thinks about the game, whether they like it or don't, whatever, man.
I mean, the annoying thing to me is like, I mean, I'm gonna echo what Shay says in the chat here. Yeah, all games have equal skill ceilings, because anything that you have to get good at, whether it's cup stacking or it's speed cubing or curling or whatever, like all these things have a very similar skill level, because at the best you're a best for the reason, right? But most different things have different skill floors, right, on where you get in. And I will still believe that fighting games probably have one of the biggest skill floors, that it's one of the hardest games to get into. The main thing about this is, what's weird about it is, whenever I talk about this and I'm like, fighting games are really hard to get into, people seem to think that I'm saying that as a point of pride. And to me, that's not what I'm talking about. This is a critique. I'm saying fighting games are poorly done because they're so hard to get into. You know what I mean? This is not me bragging that, ooh, fighting game players are the best because we're the ones who have the grit and the ability to stick it out. What's that?
I said number one, baby. If you're not first, you're last. Let's go.
This is not me trying to compliment the fighting game genre. This is me critiquing and actually saying that the fighting game genre has a problem with this. And now, I'm not saying there's an easy solution. I've offered a lot of solutions, and I still haven't had the chance to talk about why Smash Brothers is like the greatest fucking fighting game ever created in terms of that. Outside of, it's got Mario and Pikachu, which everyone likes to use as a way to blind themselves to all the genius of Smash Brothers. But like, it's not a compliment to say that fighting games are hard to get into. I think it sucks that that's the case, honestly.
Well, we're running out of time on the topic, but I wanted to say that before this particular AT&T event, I actually don't like when fighting games are included in this stuff.
Oh yeah.
I feel like overall, even the streamers that usually have like a positive outlook on things, even their chats are still negative about fighting games. So I feel like these like 12-year-olds come in with their mind made up that it's not Fortnite, so fighting games suck, right? And I feel like a lot of streamers too that are involved in this stuff go along with it. They're just like Shroud, for example. He's like, well, am I ever gonna put time into this? Nah. And I don't think he's wrong. I don't think he's wrong.
No, I get it.
Why the hell would Shroud play a fighting game? But also, come on, man. Fucking hype our shit up a little bit, bro. You're one of the most famous streamers on Earth. Our genre does not have the viewership CSGO did. Help us out, brother. Help us out. So I used to not like this. I felt like fighting games were the sideshow. Now, after this event, almost everybody besides Shroud ended up being pretty positive about the fighting games, and I did jump in some chats, and most of them were hyped to watch the matches. They weren't shitting on Street Fighter. They weren't, and I don't know if that's a maturity of the viewers. I don't know if fighting games are actually becoming more mainstream. It feels like they are. Or what the cause was, but it seemed a lot more positive this year, so maybe good can come from it. But yeah, in the past, man, I just felt like we're the sideshow. Look at the button mashers. It was silly.
Yeah, it's true.
Lyric
That's a good
is still
question.
playing SF5. That's cool. Yeah, he gets big viewership, so that's cool.
Yeah, it's actually a really interesting question. I wonder what is different about it. I mean, was it because it was Street Fighter and maybe not
it might
Mortal
be.
Kombat
It might
or
be
something?
Last time,
let's talk
again,
Street
it was
Fighter fans.
dominated by Shiva Stomp and even hardcore MK players, especially hardcore MK players, were mad about Shiva Stomp.
Everybody's mad.
Yeah.
Everybody was mad about Shiva Stomp. Not me, to be clear. I thought it was cool, but a lot of people were mad about Shiva Stomp, and it was, if you don't know anything about the game, it seems really absurd. And again, even if you do, it can seem like it's very, very overwhelming. Whereas this time, it just wasn't like that. Even Honda Hands is something that you can obviously just keep doing up close to the opponent doesn't want to do, but it's just not anything like Shiva Stomp.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you. 16-bit. I was rooting for Shiva to stay good, but
It's
I don't
funny
know.
too because
What are you gonna
someone had mentioned this. When you talked about Majin Obama putting up that video where she walked and blocked and walked and blocked and punished. Someone in the chat mentioned that she's a speed runner, and if there's any argument for a person who is going to be universally just the greatest video game players of all time, it is going to be the speedrunner. I don't care what having gone to an AGDQ and having blind speedruns where 4 excellent speedrunners go play games that they don't even know is coming up and that they've never played before, and they will develop these crazy strats because by that point, it just becomes a video gaming skill. You know how to exploit games. And I feel like if there's any argument for anybody being the best universally at video games, it's going to be the speedrunners. Oh, man.
It's
All
brutal
right,
players.
moving
All right, we'll move
on.
on.
Yeah. Okay, so
All right.
Capcom Cup. What's going on here? What's going on here?
Have you heard about this? Have you seen this? This actually just came out, and I don't know if we have too much to say about it in terms of news. But the news is that Logan, who of course we had on the show not too long ago, a UK Street Fighter head, commentator for a long time, said that he was just told that there will not be any UK-based commentators on any of the CPT broadcasts this season, which includes the UK and Ireland CPT event, which is coming up in early May. And, obviously he's disappointed about that. He says, what a way to see out competitive Street Fighter V. We went from this photo, which shows a picture of him and effor commentating Capcom Cup finals the year I believe that NuckleDo won it. And he says, what a way to see out competitive Street Fighter V. We went from this photo to nothing at all. Words can't express my disappointment. So we just wanted to talk about this a little bit. Again, not too much else that we can really say. I don't know. Well, can only speculate, what's going on behind the scenes, and what is going to end up being the case in terms of commentary. I don't know, but what do you guys think about this?
I'm gonna let Tubo speak.
There's a lot of game devs and game publishers out there that disappoint their fans repeatedly, and I don't know outside of Nintendo anybody that does this more than Capcom. I don't. This isn't the first time that somebody has put in years and years and years of work for them just to be kicked to the curb as if those people never existed. I'm not going to name names, but this isn't the first time that somebody I at least consider a buddy, a pal, a colleague, somebody who does commentary, that does content creation for Capcom, at the end of the day, for way under minimum wage, if you count up the hours work put in, just gets absolutely shit on by Capcom. And I don't know what the situation is. I don't know why they're doing what they're doing. But I would imagine that Capcom has some form of power over this because it's their company and it's their brand and it's their IP and it's their Pro Tour. So while there might be some other things at work here, at the end of the day, this is Capcom's esports team's fault, in my opinion. And it seems like they just continually fuck up. We haven't heard their rebuttal on the COC that they put out, by the way.
The license.
The licensing agreement, sorry. They promised to revise that and get back to us as soon as possible. And that's been like 2 months already, hasn't it? It's been at least a month at the very least. We've heard nothing from that. And now this news, doing this to Logan and effor and all the other guys out there who've put in just, again, countless hours. It's so disappointing. Like, yeah, it's disappointing, man. It sucks. Capcom sucks. Fix your shit.
I'm disappointed.
It sucks too because they obviously have a team out there that has done a lot of stuff. I mean, we know the guys who are running a lot of the EU broadcasts. They're right there, to hire to do these kind of things. They produce sets for Capcom fighters every single week, right? I mean, these guys are already there. It's not like that this is going to be a hard infrastructure to set up and find. Like, they've done it. This group is there. So it is very, very weird to not hire the EU guys at all for any of the EU stuff. Like, I feel like that's the right way to do it, to be honest with you. I
mean, unless the commentary is going to be all remote.
It is.
It is going to be all remote.
I mean, we're talking about CPT online.
Then it's still. I was thinking maybe like some flight or regulations or something was happening. But I was just trying to like justify it in my head some way. But
I'm sorry.
So it makes even less sense.
I misunderstood. The way that it worked last year, I guess I can't speak to this coming year, is that for CPT you had to be in SoCal, and there's a there's a headquarters in
the
Burbank
studio.
that does
There's
the
a
streaming.
studio.
There's a studio, I should say. Yeah. So it wasn't like we were doing it from our rooms, from our
Okay, yeah. Well,
apartments.
then sure, yeah. Like
So yeah.
maybe
So it
maybe
wasn't in. It's online. So anyway, whatever. I got mixed up. But yes.
yeah. That's what I'm
I mean-
saying. Like if they're all running it just from one office, then maybe that's why they don't want to fly out UK people.
Well,
Right,
so
but I mean, they
what
didn't do
happened
that
last year
last
was
year, right? Yeah.
Yeah. What happened last year is that they used
Well,
the
then-
studio in London.
Then what's the excuse?
So
What's
I
the reason,
don't really
Capcom?
know.
Yeah, not sure.
Yeah,
to
I
be
mean, I
honest.
was just trying to like figure out a reason, but
Yeah.
doesn't seem like there is one.
Now, I mean, from the production side of things, like, I'm not trying to say that Capcom is faultless here, but like I do know that a lot of productions like these are, they're separate companies that are like, Capcom companies will put in a bid to Capcom to run these events. How much can you do it for? So not sure if this is a direct Capcom decision. However, Capcom absolutely has the power to overturn the decision, which is kind of what I'm hoping will happen at this point, that they can actually maybe do something about this. Because again, the EU staff, the EU guys who are doing this, they've been doing this stuff year after year. And like I said, they're producing content for Capcom Fighters. One of the consistent weekly things that they present, which is the sets, is produced entirely in the UK. So it seems like it makes no sense to freeze them out of the CPT commentary. If anything, just let them do all of the EU, let them do the the Middle East regions, the Russia regions and stuff like that, like they did last year. So
Yeah, that is mostly what happened last year. Yeah, it's disappointing. And again, I don't know what the deal is, but I'm disappointed, and I'm sorry for those guys that it's the case. It's definitely going to be disappointing. Last year there was one weekend when we let's say SoCal did one of the UK events. We did one CPT commentary. I don't. Some other issue. It was supposed to happen from the UK guys. They had done the previous one, and for whatever reason, they weren't able to do that one. So they brought in me and I think it was Ringe. I don't remember exactly. And I felt weird doing it. I felt weird doing the commentary for the UK because like I knew that like there are people who are extremely good commentators who know that scene extremely well who would be killing it right now, but it's on me instead. So yeah, I feel bad about that, and I feel bad for not just for the people themselves, friends of mine, but also for their scene and for the scene globally, because I don't think it should be the case that it's only U.S. commentators and especially only SoCal commentators who get to do this stuff. It is mostly SoCal commentators. Last year they did bring in some people. They brought in like Marine, and they brought in St. Cola, and probably somebody else I'm forgetting. They flew them in, so it wasn't exclusively SoCal, but still it was mostly SoCal. And even as somebody who gets the benefit of that, I kind of think that's whack. I'd rather have more people who do more commentary. I mean, look, honestly, my take on this is I wish that it were the case that it wasn't even just we're only talking about the UK and US here. I'd love it if there were more countries with more languages who got to do commentary for this stuff. I think that's absolutely how it should go. Yesterday on Look Alive, El Colt was doing commentary, and he was doing it in English, and he was nailing it. And I've heard him commentate several times in the past, and it's always great. And I know that he's not the only good commentator. I've heard many others from many other places who are good commentators as well.
They're
And
definitely.
I wish there was more opportunity for them to get shine.
Yeah, there definitely needs to be official, at least multilingual streams, right? Like, there's so many good commentators from Latin America and Asia regions and stuff like that. They really should just have people in all the different areas.
Let me tell you, James, Capcom is listening because in order to do that, they said we're only going to use Americans from now on. So they're really being progressive.
I don't get it.
I'm saying they're doing the complete opposite of that.
Yeah.
They're not going the right direction.
Right. Okay.
Good thing you're asking for that, because let me tell you about how they're never going to do that, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that this is something for them to look back on. Hopefully, as you guys are saying, to change this year. But even if that doesn't happen, I really hope that, it's like criticism from previous years where like they didn't show all of the top 32 for Capcom Cup. They were planning to do that before COVID shut it down this time. They didn't do enough regions previously. They have actually been expanding regions for CPT Online over the past couple of years. So they have, in fact, been stepping it up in several ways. And a lot of that has come in the wake of criticism. So hopefully this is something that they can learn from as well. I'd really like to see not just the UK guys, but again, others as well.
On the flip side of that, though, also there's supposed to be a CPT tour, and we have no idea what events.
Yeah, we don't know what's happening offline.
Combo breakers in a month. And
yeah, I mean, a lot of that, I'm sure it's pandemic stuff happening, trying to figure out and try to get this all squared away and everything. So, no, I mean, it sucks because it's not an excuse, but, having been behind scenes and seeing people talk, you just, like, things just never go as planned in a lot of ways. So,
well, we'll be monitoring this moving forward.
Yeah, like I said, it's not a way to excuse what's going on, but a lot of the times there's just a lot more at play than usually we expect it to be. Very few things are as simple as just do it the way that seems logical. You know what I mean? It's just very
that is true.
Very rare that that's the case. So, and I'm not saying this, I have good friends, and I have people that maybe I don't like too much, and I've seen them all go through this. This is happening all over the place. This is not any sort of biased or unbiased. It's just as a person who knows production, like it's frustrating.
Frustrating.
I mean, I think it was funny.
Blow up.
Because they said that at Coachella this past weekend, there was one segment that was supposed to be streamed, and it didn't get streamed because they ran into a bunch of technical difficulties. And I'm just like, you know what? Glad to know that even at Coachella, streaming is a blow-up, dude.
Yeah, I was telling somebody recently, that my brother actually, that I know people who do streaming for like Nintendo and other companies. And he was like, they don't just use like in-house people? And I was like, nah. And he was like, well, you would think that like Nintendo could just like get somebody to turn a stream on. Like, what's the big deal?
Oh shit.
Yeah, I mean that does seem like it should make sense, but it's just not how it works. It's a little more complicated.
I've always joked, right? We have like, why don't we have just the box that you just like hit power button and it's like
stream on, please.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Let's move on here.
Sounds like freaking Human Torch. Stream on.
Stream on.
Oh man. All right, so Rugal has been released in KOF 15, including the boss rush mode that was also released. And so I don't know how much experience you've had with Rugal, fighting a Rugal or anything like that, David. I've definitely fought a few Rugals now, including Olaf.
Okay.
Not a broken character, not a strong character, not a weak character though. He's very middle of the road.
But
he's
a banned
cool.
character.
What's that?
But a banned character.
Only on the hacked Mexican arcade where Omega Rugal, who is broken beyond all reason, was available to play. But
so he came out as a regular playable character, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's also the boss mode, like James said. And yeah, the regular playable character seems like he's like pretty good, but maybe not fantastic. He's definitely got some fun tools. I think there's a bunch of stuff to say that I think I like about him. He's got, the DP that covers a huge range, and he's got big normals that cover a nice range, and he's got some plus on block stuff. And dude. I like the eye laser that covers people trying to do short hops. Like, I think there's a lot to say there, but there's like also at the same time, like he's clearly not as strong as the characters who are really strong in this game.
It's funny because like it happens every time you see a projectile that you can duck under, and you're like, this can't be good. I can duck under this. But like as Flames of the Faltine and, and this laser and all the Mortal Kombat games will teach you, being able to duck under fireballs sometimes is more annoying than not being able to duck under them. Like I actually physically started standing up and blocking them because it was like less annoying to deal with. High tigers, etc., etc. So
like there are definitely characters where doing the high laser is not a great idea. Like King can just slide under and then get damage,
Freaking so there's Vanessa.
Vanessa I'm sure can just do the special under it. So yeah, I mean it's not amazing, but I just think it's nice to have a tool that like covers the short hop range, because most projectiles can be short hopped over. So yeah, I think that's nice. He definitely seems cool though. I think he's like a cool character.
Vanessa should be the Omega boss mode.
She's the Omega boss.
100%, dude. Like, she's like the one character nobody's arguing is like top 1, 2 in the game right now.
Clearly strong. What do you think about the boss mode character? Did you play against that at all?
I did, and I mean, in the history of SNK games, you know, the boss mode of the boss characters have been like dumb, like they're there to steal your quarters, right? And honestly, that's probably not necessary for this boss rush mode, and that they did not do that. Clearly, the character is dumb. There are just some matches where you will play him that you are not gonna win because the boss just felt like being a total jerk. You know, that's like, you know, in the original Street Fighter 2, Bison's scissor kick was just a standing heavy kick, and it was a combo into itself, right? So he would just do scissor kick, scissor kick, scissor kick, scissor kick, scissor kick, scissor kick, until basically if he hit you one time, he could just do that and lock you forever. You know, there are situations where bosses, if they just felt like it, you would just die. I feel like that's the case here, but the boss is also not designed in a way that it was so dumb that I feel like people who are more casual couldn't play it and enjoy it and have a good time. And I think that's a good level to have put him at. Like, clearly he's dumb, but it's not like so dumb like actual OG bosses in SNK KOF games.
So is it not like the trailer where they showed people trying to jump in and they got anti-air genocide cutter every single time? Is it not like that?
100% you cannot go into the air against this boss. You cannot go. Even if you have a move that's like a hop or anything, you just can't. Like Isla has all that air movement, you can't use any of it, right? Although as a result, there are exploits. Like, you can safe jump him and he will DP like every single time. And so you can basically blow him up for those kind of things like that. But that's what it is. He becomes a platformer boss, right? You have to find the exploits and just never jump at him. You can fight him. But like I said, he's not. I beat him on my 3rd try. It wasn't like super annoying. But again, and then it took me like another 10 tries to beat him again, right? So like, it just kind of depends. But I kind of like the way that it worked. So
free DLC? What do you think about that?
It's good. I'm always happy for free DLC.
You didn't have to pay for them.
Can you do like the Dragon Ball Fighters boss rush, where it's like you and 2 friends fight against the boss?
No, it's just one player as far as I know. So
I didn't know you could do that in Dragon Ball. That sounds cool.
Dragon Ball Fighters has weeklies where it's like boss mode Broly, boss mode Frieza, and like you and 2 friends, you all take control of one character.
Interesting.
And then you fight
I didn't
them.
know.
yeah,
Mortal Kombat 11 actually has that as well. You team up. You basically have raids against bosses.
Yeah,
That's cool.
That's cool, actually. Neat. Okay. See, more games need to have stuff like that, dude. More games.
Well, here's the thing, though. Neither of you even knew Dragon Ball Fighters.
I didn't.
That, so.
Yeah, I mean that's not for me. It's not something that I'm really interested in. But I do know about it. I just play MK a lot. Like, that's the only reason, I'm sure. But I mean, that kind of thing is attractive to lots of people, of course.
Yeah, I mean, me and David wouldn't care that Street Fighter V doesn't have an arcade mode. Doesn't necessarily mean I don't think it's a good idea not to put in there. So
yeah, James can't even name a Goku.
I didn't even want to try. All I could say was like normal Goku, Kid Goku, and that's like
no, you didn't even name a single Goku.
I didn't in the chat. I was like, James is cooked. He doesn't know frame data or anime. He got the frame data. He got the Chun-Li question, but then anime came up. Like, there's no way.
Dude, I know frame data. Trust me, I know all about.
Yeah, I was just talking smack. I didn't actually mean
you literally didn't name a Goku. We're talking about Look Alive. James is on a game show run by Jam.
Because I just didn't even want to try. I didn't even want to.
It's base Goku and
so here's the thing is, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure.
Regular Goku and Kid
I wasn't sure if I named it because one of the lifelines was to skip a question, right?
Yeah.
And so I wasn't sure if naming halfway through and then getting it wrong would mean I would lose a life as opposed to still being able to cover that with a lifeline. That was my logic. So I
Look,
lifelined
it's
it
fine.
before I even started. So I'm just telling you my fighting game logic.
Sense. Lifeline makes sense.
I'm telling you my logic. I didn't want to be wrong and then go, you're wrong, you lost a life. I'm like, no, wait, I want to use a life. So I just lifelined it.
There's blue Goku, and there's half Goku, and there's red Goku, and there's
A black Goku.
Black Goku, and there's the white Goku, and there's regular old Goku.
Oh, man.
Anyway, all right. Anything else to say on Rugal? How do you pronounce Rugal Bernstein?
Rugal.
Rugal or Rugal. I've just been calling him Rugal, but I mean, my pronunciation of a lot of characters is off, right? I still say Anacharis, which I don't think anybody says. So.
It's anachronous.
Rugal Bernstein.
I don't
How
have
do
we
you say?
ever
How do you
actually
say Street Fighter's main character?
Ryu.
Oh, you mean Roy?
Roy. Yeah, that's it.
When I was
Good
a
old
kid,
Roy.
when I was a kid, we actually called him Roy.
There's Roy, Guile, Dollism.
We definitely said Guile. Yep. We were like
Dollism.
6, 7-year-old kids. Yep. for
Someone
sure.
was positive that when you look at the G, it looks like the little hook on the G is a dot. Someone once in my I knew insisted that he was General Guile.
Wow, that's okay.
All right.
Well, all right.
Hope that kid is doing well in life.
yeah. Okay. I guess that's it. So
Yeah, let's bring on the boy.
yeah. We will take a short break then. We're gonna have an interview with Fizzi coming up very soon.
Yeah.
Talk about
Obviously-
some Mario Superstars baseball.
Genesis 8 took place this past weekend, and so with some very interesting results. So we'll talk to Fizzi about that, about Slippi, and other things as well. So stick around, guys. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Tuesday show. It is time for our interview segment. And today we are going to be bringing on a very special guest here. It is Fizzi, creator of Slippi. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Oh, and
Who is this?
who's the
This is
co-host?
Miso. I saw James had his cat on stream earlier, so I figured I'd bring Miso. Although
Always a welcome guest.
he's passing out in my arms apparently right now.
How old is he? And what breed?
He is 11. We got him at a senior rescue, and he's a Pomeranian mix.
Oh my God, he's adorable.
All right. Well, you know what? We were planning to talk about all sorts of other stuff, but this is the topic for the rest of the
now we need to know all the stories, all the pictures.
Yeah, he has an Instagram. Lil manages it. I believe it's Miso Snores.
Oh, let's
Miso snores. Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Oh, it's managed by my sister, right? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
yeah.
Chen's
She did-
Unite.
She did tell me that was a thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about a bunch of stuff. We'll get to Slippi and to sort of how Melee has been changing. But let's start by talking about how you got into competitive Melee in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I started with Brawl, played in the Montreal scene, and then people there sort of got me into Melee. People here might know Chester01, one of my early mentors in Melee. He goes on the show with Wooly often. So yeah, I got into Melee sort of through them. Sort of kind of got disillusioned with Brawl a little bit, and sort of was like, oh my god, Melee is just so sick and fast. And it's funny we just had Genesis 8. I think this was around Genesis 1, right? So Genesis 1, I saw the Genesis 1 finals, and I was like, I need to get into this game. This game is just too sick. I had played it when I was a kid, of course. A lot of people had, but it's different playing a game competitively versus, just like casually getting into it.
Free for all items, any stage,
Yeah, I mean, which is a blast. I heard you talking about, games that are easier to get into or whatever, and I think that's definitely one of the reasons Smash is so popular, right? It's just really fun casually.
Oh man, I could talk about Smash and what it does for casual players for hours, so I'm gonna shut up now. So,
Well, I'm curious if you could maybe wind the clock back a little bit further. You talked about being somebody who was playing Brawl. What got? I mean, I'm curious, like, what got you into sort of just competitively playing something like Smash at all in the first place? What was the attraction?
I don't know. I mean, that's a great question. I think in college I started playing it sort of a little bit more frequently in my dorm, but still kind of casually. And I started watching. I saw some videos of like Bomb Soldier versus Ken, which are like very OG melee videos. And it's just like it just felt so cool. And it's like I don't understand how these people are doing this stuff. This is crazy. And I think it's just kind of that was part of it. I was like, I kind of want to maybe learn a little bit more how to get good at this. And at the same time, one of my real life friends who was in New Jersey at the time started kind of playing it at his college and was playing it more competitively. Brawl was coming out, so I was like, I'm not going to play Melee. I'll just wait for Brawl. And then he was kind of getting into Brawl, and I went back to New Jersey, and we went to a tournament and stuff, and it was kind of just went from there.
Like,
have you been? I mean, like, have you been a competitive person your whole entire life? Was it just like one of those things that you were playing, you know, always try to beat siblings, or were you really into sports growing up? You know, kind of thing?
Yeah, I played tennis, varsity tennis. I also was pretty competitive in WoW arenas for a while. I did like Cal O and Counter Strike. I was like not great at Counter Strike, but like I played 1.6 and played it somewhat competitively. So I had a history in competitive gaming. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I just always think it's interesting why different people get into playing games competitively. Some people are fiends for just any kind of competition. They happen to fall into a certain one. Some people really like the specific strategy. Some people just like love how a game looks and sounds, and that like ends up turning into being competitive. Like, how would you say you came down on one of those angles?
You know, I think Melee to me, I guess I did play sports, right? And Melee is a very expressive game. And it just feels so good to play. I mean, you don't have to be playing competitively. You don't have to be playing in a tournament to be like, dude, what I am doing is so sick right now, right? You just do it, you just like, you're just playing for fun and you just feel good about yourself because you're like, wow, this is so cool. I have other games that I play that feel like that, and that would be Rocket League. I think is very similar in that aspect. I think Rocket League is an incredible game. Unfortunately, I never really too much got into traditional fighters. I tried them, and it's tough. It's really, James's point, it's really tough to get into. It's like you feel kind of lost, I think, at first. You can't really do anything. It feels like, it just feels like you're mashing, right? You don't, like, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm just like pressing a bunch of buttons, and I'm like, hopefully this works, I guess. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. So you get into Melee competitively. Can you kind of describe the arc of your like Melee, but just regular career as well after that?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I played in tournaments in Montreal. Did like a little bit of traveling. I never got incredible or anything. I think like for me, it was something I would go to like weeklies and invite people over, and it was kind of like a social thing to some extent. But also, I did try to get better. I do wonder, and this kind of goes into what we're going to talk about later, is like if I had started today and I still had that fire, like that burning desire to get better, if I would have progressed differently, because the tools are so much different now than they were when I was getting into it in like 2009, 2010. So yeah, I mean, my trajectory from that, I think like I always cared about the game, started doing some side projects, and eventually that led to me working at Smash GG. So kind of like, I guess I kind of transitioned from the competitive side at some point where like I don't really compete anymore, right? And I haven't for a while. And, working on sort of being a more supportive role for the game, but still somewhat integral in the scene, I guess.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say. You talk about playing a more of a support role. That's a bit of an understatement. Can you talk about how this all led to you developing Slippi? And for those people who don't know what Slippi is?
Yeah, I mean, Slippi, what it's mostly known for now is adding sort of rollback netcode, which hopefully I don't have to explain on this podcast what that is, and integrated matchmaking, which is obviously huge for the scene. It especially during COVID times, right? It just makes it so much more accessible, so much easier to play.
Yeah. I mean, again, for those people who are super casual, let's just say rollback netcode is the best kind of netcode for fighting games, and it didn't exist in most games, but it is turning into the thing now. So
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, are you a programmer? Is that kind of where your background is? You're a developer kind of thing, or?
Yeah, I studied computer engineering, which is very sort of software engineering adjacent. My first job out of college was actually at Johnson and Johnson, working on AccuView contact lenses. And I did some like software for R&D team there, which was really cool actually. It's really cool, sort of like all of the stuff that comes together with that, because like you talk to like chemists and you talk to like mechanical engineers and stuff, and like it's really cool. And then from there, I became, I went to Smash GG, and yeah, I mean, I've always done developing professionally since coming out of college. So, and now I work on Slippi full time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how did that all lead to Slippi? Like, what was the birth of the idea of, you know what, I'm freaking putting rollback into...
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, I mean, it started with replays, right? That was kind of like the first major thing Slippi did, was add consistent replay files, right? And I think from there you get one really important thing, and that's confidence about determinism, right? So like, that you can recreate the game solely based on the input. And I think that was a really big step in learning towards being like, okay, I think rollback might be possible. And I don't know why. I mean, I chose to do it. I think to me, it was like, okay, I want to work on Slippi more. And it was just like, I quit my job at Smash GG, and there was a few things I could have done. And I was like, dude, rollback is the coolest, most challenging thing I feel like I can work on, right? It was just like, I couldn't not do it. I don't know. Yeah.
Now, go ahead, Tuo.
I was gonna guess when you were developing the rollback netcode for Slippi and Melee, did you consult with any experts in the league? Did you talk to Zynak or Keats or
a little bit? Yeah, I did actually talk to Keats.
Okay.
I talked to Keats, and he referred me to, oh god, I'm forgetting his name. It was one of the main guys that worked on it at Iron Galaxy.
maybe Zynak?
Might be Zynak, yeah.
I don't know. I would probably know his real name more than his tag.
Right.
Chase?
No, I don't think
That's
so.
not familiar? Then I'm not sure.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm sorry to.
Oh yeah, no, it's fine.
God, forget it. All right, we're done with this interview. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But I did consult a bit, especially like the big things were like the hold back to block video was huge. I think I watched that and I was like, I think that's probably what got me thinking like, I think I can do this. Like, and I think because I think the video does a good job of explaining sort of like the baseline how it works, and I think it's like, this isn't too far. I don't see how it's like too far fetched. For a while, I was like, it's probably impossible, and then like the more I thought about it, and I was like, maybe it is possible. Maybe I can do it.
Those nights when you're just kind of lying in bed and then, like that idea just pops into your head, and you're like, wait, I can do this.
Yeah.
Now,
So can you talk a little bit more about what it is that Slippi lets people do, like what it entails now in its sort of modern form?
Sure. I mean, using Dolphin, people can, just like boot up the game pretty much normally. Our custom version of Dolphin, you just like get Dolphin, you boot up the game,
right.
and
Dolphin, which is the GameCube emulator, like the most popular
Correct.
GameCube emulator, right? Mm-hmm.
Correct. And basically, it takes you to a menu, which right now includes like unranked direct and teams, I guess. And you pick one of those, and then you just like you pick your character, you press start. That communicates with our servers, matches people up, and then sends that back to the players and starts a session with them, right?
So does this work for any game in Dolphin right now, or is this just Melee specifically right now?
It's Melee specific. Dolphin has its own sort of delay-based netcode implementation, but we don't use basically any of that. When I built, like in order to do it the way I knew how to do it, it has like very tight integrations with like the Melee engine and how it works. So no, it's not a generic solution. It might be possible to do like a generic-ish solution, but it's tough. GameCube games start to get to that size where there's like a pretty large memory. Like there's a lot of memory, right? So it's like doing a save state is tough. And it needs to be fast in rollback. You have to be able to save the state and load it very, very quickly.
And process where it went very quickly too, right? So, but I mean, are you hosting the servers yourself? I mean, like, what kind of server load are you getting at this point? I kind of imagine that's like gotta be expensive, right?
It is. It costs me about $1,300 a month or so to run the servers. So definitely not negligible.
Donate.
You said you're working on Slippi full time now, right?
Yeah.
And you're losing $1,300 a month.
Well, I'm not, because I have a Patreon that's doing pretty well.
Oh, okay. I was like, please tell me somewhere you're getting money in.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be able to take that red every month and be okay with that.
Oh yeah, for a second there I was scared. I was like, please shut down Slippi right now.
Now, here's the hard question here. Here's the tough question here, because I don't want to cause anything to happen here. But have you had any troubles with Nintendo? Has Nintendo ever like done anything or anything?
No, I mean, they've never contacted me.
Okay.
Obviously, it's always a risk. They haven't been particularly friendly to like third-party projects in the past.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there's always a risk, but I haven't heard from them. So it is what it is. Yeah. I do my best to sort of make it so that hopefully it's not something that would anger them too much. I know they don't like emulation in general, and we sort of rely on emulation. So for that reason, can't help that. But I try to, there's things
they don't like emulation unless they put it in their own products, right?
Right, exactly. I try to avoid very specific things. Like I think one big problem that like games like P+ have is like they're adding new characters to which they don't own the IP, and like we're never gonna do that. That's like way too far. We're not gonna like add like people use custom like costumes and skins and stuff, but we don't really support any of that. Right. Like we don't provide any skins. Like we don't really even. It's
not like universal skins. In other words,
don't promote it, right?
You use it on your machine. The other guy doesn't see it and stuff, right?
Yeah. So, and it's also we do say it like it's use at your own risk in the sense that like skins can cause desyncs potentially. Like some can, and then you're just like kind of ruining the game for yourself and other people. People get very confused too about desyncs because they don't really understand what it is. Right. But that's something we can improve on. I think I intend to add desync detection soon, but anyway.
So you talked about getting into Melee and what it was like to get into Melee at that time. Game doesn't have an online mode, right? It doesn't have a great training mode. What was it like to try to get good at the game back then?
I mean, it was fun. I think like, I just like played with friends and people I knew, and I feel like I'm not exactly the grinding type anyway. So it's like I don't think I was like looking to grind specific techniques or anything all that much. Like obviously like the simple stuff, like you move around, you wave dash or whatever, but like I wouldn't try to like train a specific scenario or anything like that. I would kind of just play with people and ask for advice and try to get like better. But certainly it would be a lot slower than I think what it is now. Yeah, maybe I would have grinded if the tools were there. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
Let me ask this question then. Obviously, Genesis 8 just took place this weekend, and the record was broken that not since 2007, I think they said, was Armada, Mango, PPMD, Hungrybox, and Leffen, or those people. This was the first time.
Yeah, it was
in like 50. Oh yeah, Mewtwo King, of course. In 15 years, none of those players was in grand finals, and in fact, the top 8 was pretty, I mean, I don't want to say unexpected, but obviously you had a lot of the pedigree of the players there.
Yeah.
How much of that would you attribute to Slippi allowing
Take
people
credit
to
for their
practice?
victory. Do it, Fizzi. Tell them it was all you, baby.
Let me just say before you get to that the top 8 had, in terms of characters, it had 2 Peaches, 1 Fox, or like whatever, one other guy used it for one game, Jigglypuff, Marth, Yoshi, Falcon, and Sheik. So that was the character selection. And if you go through the top 64, it was actually also pretty reasonably balanced among the top 10-ish characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's tricky, James. I think it's tricky to claim something like that, and I think the reason is it's been 2 years basically since we've had an open bracket super major. People get better in 2 years, like regardless, right? So I think a lot of people on Twitter are attributing it to that, and I'm sure it has some impact. I'm sure people were grinding online, and some people that maybe weren't grinding as much are able to grind. I think it's more likely you'll see an impact if you look at top 64, I think, versus looking at top 8. I don't know if Jmook would have, maybe Jmook would have gotten this run regardless without Slippi or whatever, right? Who knows? So yeah, I mean, it's tricky to say. It's been a long time where we haven't really seen these events.
So obviously our audience here not as Smash friendly, including myself. Who is Jmook, and what is it about that run that was like crazy?
I mean, who is Jmook? I think that's the question, right?
Okay, fair.
Fine.
No. I'm somewhat joking. I had heard of him, but even me, that's in the scene, I didn't really realize he could have potentially gotten anywhere near where he got, right? Top 64 maybe. I wouldn't never have expected him to do the run that he did. But he's a Sheik from upstate New York, was getting in the game, I think, around the same time as IBDW, who is, one of our top players now.
Got third.
Yeah, and also got third. So yeah, I mean, he's been around for a while, and I honestly don't know how much he grinds with Slippi. Maybe I haven't heard him say it. I do know that he's competed in some online tournaments. So yeah, it's tricky.
Dude, you say that people get better in 2 years, but would that have been possible, in fact, if there wasn't good online play during these specific 2 years? If we're talking about like any other random 2 years,
Right.
maybe you're right? People can go on in person and actually get better, for sure. Then people did that. But in these specific 2 years, you just couldn't do that for a good 1.5 of them.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point for sure. I think it would have been tough to get practice, and the landscape of the game, I think, would certainly look different. Some people say Slippi saved Melee. I don't know if I buy that. I think that might be a little too strong. Melee has, overcome a lot of adversity throughout the years. I think Melee is pretty strong and persistent. But I do think that the landscape today would not look the same as I think what it does now with good online play.
Because, I mean, honestly, one of the things that a lot of people don't give good online play credit for is just the sheer volume that you get to play and experience different things.
Yeah.
I remember Cien pointing out one of the best Street Fighter V players, Problem X, who won EVO, had like the most matches played online, like of all the top players that he had found. And that just makes it so that you have the ability to be prepared for any random Jigglypuff or Ice Climber that comes your way, kind of thing. So, having that online and having it available to play, I think, is a major factor. And, I know you're trying to be humble here, but I mean, I feel like Slippi absolutely has a lot to do with that.
Yeah. How do you guys in the FGC view sort of online tournament results? Like, are they seen as sort of like lesser than in-person results, or are they seen as like legitimate, or are people like just like, oh, this guy's only good online? Or I'm curious
They're
what
more
the
legitimate now than they used to be.
Yeah.
But they're still not as quite legitimate as offline.
Yeah. It's shifting. Yeah. It's shifting, and it helps because rollback netcode, like Strive, I don't think a lot of people are questioning the results as much because Strive has good rollback netcode. But one of the things that I have said is that for my history, this very much parallels the arcade to console transition, where a lot of people at first were doubting console results because it wasn't the arcade and it's just not real. And now it's like it's all arcade. I mean, it's all console. And I feel like the same thing is happening with online slowly but surely. I think eventually, especially if everything does go to good rollback. I mean, obviously there's bad rollback, Street Fighter 5, but like, as it gets to good rollback, I think online absolutely is legit results at this point.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I think it's similar with us too a little bit. I think, especially since I think our good online is so new.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people that are like, because before with delay-based netcode, everyone was like, it's whatever, right? but now it's so new that people they don't really view it as legitimate so much. It'll be interesting when ranked comes out and there's like an actual leaderboard and people can see like, does this leaderboard look legit? And if it does, then maybe that lends credibility to the argument that like obviously online play is at least sort of like somewhat mirrors offline. Although offline, I think, will always be more prestigious. I think that's the same in every game. Every game, right?
Every game is like that.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked about the players and people who have gotten good over the last couple of years, but I'm curious if you could talk to, and maybe this is not just Slippi, but I'm just curious about the evolution in general of the characters. We talked about how that top 8 is pretty all over the place, and how in top 64, I mean, there's more foxes than most. Like there's still there's tiers, obviously, but like there are other characters. There are other characters, who are competitive in ways that they weren't years ago. What do you attribute that to?
Melee's crazy. I don't know. I really don't know. I think the game is super deep, and people are finding ways to push characters in ways that I think you hadn't considered before. But I think that's been the history of Melee forever. Early on, probably we could say it happened with Puff. Then like with Armada, it happened with Peach. And, with Amsa, Yoshi, and so on, you kind of need at least this one player who really just like sort of pushes those boundaries and really, really makes the character. You see, Melee is so fluid that I think you can overcome a lot just with your movement and your ability. And even though obviously there is a tier list, some characters are better than others. Compared to some other games, I think the strategies are not so simple. I think you can't just be like, okay, I can do this one basic strategy and I'll win always, right? I don't think that works in almost any matchup. I don't think you can do that. So I think like, I don't know. I mean, it's a complex game. The interactions are really complicated, and I think you can always find ways to push things.
Do you feel like having these tools again, and as you mentioned, it's not just good online play, but also like replay function and like actual some training mode stuff. Like, how important is the tech side of this to developing those characters?
It's so hard for me to answer you because I'm not a grinder myself, so I don't know how much that helps the people who really do grind those scenarios. But obviously for this, I have to shout out what's called Uncle Punch's training mode. Uncle Punch is a guy who also lives in New York. He's he's helped on Slippi a whole lot. And he's converted sort of like the classic event menu or whatever in Melee to sort of training exercises. So and they span all ranges, right? Like even new players can come in and like you can practice your wave dashes, you can practice your L cancels, and it gives you like real-time feedback of how you're doing, like when if you need to like press the buttons faster. And then it goes on to more complicated things. There's like ledge dashes. You can set up specific scenarios, right? Like you can record inputs for one character, save it, and then like move the other character somewhere, take control of the other character, play back the inputs from the other one, and then like react, or like maybe you're like figuring out how to cover a specific edge guarding situation or something like that, right? So certainly our training tools are huge, and I mean it's huge shout out to Uncle Punch for that, and that's helped like the tippy top players a whole lot for sure. I think that is probably what pushes the top players more, and I think something like online is probably what gets people to the range where like that stuff becomes relevant, right? So it's like I think that it's interesting how like the different things are helpful at maybe different skill levels.
Now, you said that a ranked mode is coming out soon, huh? Is that what you guys are currently developing? Like, when is the ETA on that kind of thing, or has it even been announced? I know some people in the chat were asking. So
yeah, it's the number one question I get. I don't do ETAs because I feel like it just causes you to potentially rush and like release a bad product, and also I think it increases stress and also makes it maybe like you don't work as well. I feel like I certainly don't work as well when I have deadlines and so on. But it's tricky. I wish it was out already. I'm making really good progress on it. It's getting there. It's getting there is the most I will say. I don't have an ETA. I've been working on it for a long time. So
give us an ETA. Ultra Chen TV Tuesday show exclusive. Ranked mode day announced. No, just kidding.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, Fizzi, but real quick. Oh no, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. I'm good. Go ahead. Go for it.
I'll say real quick before I let you go. I need to ask you: have you ever heard of a game called Mario Superstar Baseball?
Yes. I have heard.
Were you aware that similar to Slippi, a scene has developed around that game competitively, and they developed their own version of Dolphin, so people can net play Mario Superstar Baseball across, well, I guess the globe. But they developed like their own netcode for it, where the batter is the host and they have no delay, and the pitcher is delay based, so they have a little bit of delay.
Oh, interesting.
It's really, really cool stuff.
That's
I've been playing a ton of that, so I was just curious.
Yeah.
I was just curious if you had heard about that.
I hadn't heard about that. No, that's really cool. It's cool to hear about other
Rio,
scenes.
If you want to look it up. But yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, a lot of scenes actually reach out to me about like netcode and stuff. Like I think people from like Halo 1 have reached out to me, and like a whole bunch of other games that want better netcode for their games. So it's obviously
cool.
It's a very common thing. Yeah.
I asked this question to everybody if nobody else has any questions here, but I'll ask this as a double question then. One, where does the handle Fizzi come from? And then where did the name Slippi come from? Why did you choose Slippi for the project?
Fizzi. Well, it's I think a lot of people make names when they're young or whatever. I'm actually pretty happy with the way mine turned out in the end. But no, it's actually. What's that? How old was I? It was when I was playing Counter-Strike. I think I started using like the word fission in my name for a while, and then I didn't want to use fission anymore, so it transitioned to Fizzi. Which is kind of weird. That's probably not what you'd expect from that name. I think most people think like fizzy soda or whatever, but it's not. It's not about that. And Slippi, we'll just let that one. We'll let the public decide where that came from.
Slippi. Did anyone, when they heard the name of it, argue with you and go, Slippi, no! Like being mad about it? Anyway.
Yeah, no.
All right, man. Plug it. Yeah. Plug everything you got.
Oh, God. I mean...
Patreon.
Yeah, I guess. First of all, thanks to everyone who supports Slippi. All of the support staff in the Discord and all of the people contributing to the open source. My Patreon obviously is probably the number one plug. It's Fizzi36, patreon.com/Fizzi36. My Twitter also Fizzi36. I post updates and stuff there. Nice. I think that's what I got.
Sweet. Right. Thanks a lot for coming on and talking with us about this. It's been really interesting.
Tell my sister I said hi. Haven't been able to talk to my sister in a long time. So
yeah, hopefully soon there'll be events or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah.
Here.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. It was fun.
Thanks for staying up. Have a good night.
Yeah. Good talking.
All right. So there we go.
Cool.
Sorry, did you transition out?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead and
you sure
jump
did.
out of the thing now.
Get
Go
out of
ahead.
here.
Guys,
Peace.
Yeah, it's super cool. The changes that have gone on in Melee, just, it's something that I watch casually, right? I mean, it's something. If I could go back in time and do it all over again and play two different games than I actually did, it would be Marvel 2 and it would be Melee. Those two games seem like they have like the most draw for me in a way that like now getting into them is just sounds very difficult for me. But like,
Hey,
if I could just like go back in time, like that
if
would
you
be...
started 2 years ago at this pandemic playing some Slippi, you could have gotten second place at Genesis 8 as well.
Maybe not.
No offense, David, but I don't think your hands could play Melee, dude.
You're absolutely right, actually. Thank you.
Jeez.
Very fair.
Not gonna happen, bro.
Very fair. That's very true.
But I mean, honestly, it's really cool, and I will say this, and I don't know if he's still watching, but like, dude, what Slippi has probably done for the Melee scene is probably immeasurable, to be honest. Like the advancement in having that online netcode, because again, I mean, look at what it's doing for Strive right now. It's the record breaker entrant at Combo Breaker ever. It's the #1 game at Evo right now. It's crazy what good netcode can do. So there you go.
This headset just has the thing attached, and I never use it because I use the actual mic. But anyway.
There we
All
go.
right.
Can you hear me now? Is it better?
Can you hear me? Yeah,
is it better?
You guys sound so much better now.
Okay,
All
okay,
right.
cool.
Let's move on to the 5-5 matchup.
Alrighty.
For which we have a few questions this week. Of course, this is where we let everybody send in questions of their own, and then we leave it to you, the viewers, to decide which ones we will actually, in fact, discuss. We doing one this week?
I think so. I think we just have one. And if we can do two, we'll do two.
Let's do one. All right, #1. So vote. You're going to get to vote. Vote like you got one choice, because you do. #1.
Vote is not set up yet. I'll let you know as soon as it is.
Just saying, think about what you're going to do. #1, any tips on how to cope with the feelings of wanting to get better at fighting games, but other things in life, like different priorities, are preventing the time and effort to do so? #2, could the next DBFZ make the switch to the perspective of Dragon Ball Xenoverse and make it work? 2D and Dragon Ball feels odd to me. And then lastly, #3, when a new audience is introduced to fight games, we tend to hear the complaints of difficulty, execution, monetization, etc. Do you think these complaints are valid relative to other genres, or are there other underlying issues that are less obvious / talked about?
All right, the polls are up. !1, !2, and !3 are your votes. If you are a sub, you get 2 votes. You can use that to vote for 2 different questions, or you can be a cheater and double down on 1 question. It's up to you.
Good old TuboWare.
I don't think you're the only one who does it, so. Alrighty.
Putting my official thumb on the scales there.
Whew. I don't even know if we have to go much longer at this point. As you can see in the results right there, Moobot just put in the results right there.
Okay.
It seems
#1.
pretty runaway right now. I'll give it another second. No, with over 50% of the votes at this point in time, where we're nearing 40 votes, I am closing it. It is #1. Let's go ahead and do this now.
Okay, so #1 is any tips on how to cope with the feelings of wanting to get better at fighting games, but other things in life, like different priorities, are preventing the time and effort to do so.
Right. Okay. So
Let me tell you something I realized today, everybody. Just realized it today. Actually, I realized it yesterday.
What's that?
Let me tell you something that I realized yesterday.
Oh,
James.
okay.
James, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
What I realized, James, is that I'm not good at Street Fighter V. And my intention was to get good at Street Fighter V for the purposes of entering tournaments this year. And I went online yesterday, and boy, I'm not good at all. And I played again today, and I'm also just not good. And bummer, definitely bummer. And I thought to myself, like, hold on, like, wasn't I good at this game, like, just a little bit ago? And then I realized, oh yeah, like, I played basically only Mortal Kombat 11 for, like, 2 months. And then I played only either Elden Ring or King of Fighters 15 for the last also 2 months. And so it's actually been like a while since I played Street Fighter V. And my intention, again, was to get good at both MK and SF5. I wanted to enter tournaments in both. And now it's been 2 months since I even played MK. I'm probably not good at that anymore. Because I just got on this train of like, I've been playing a lot of Elden Ring and KOF's really fun. So I've wanted to spend my fighting game time on that. And so I find myself in this situation of wanting to get better at these two games. But other things in life, like different priorities, have come up in the meantime. I mean, of course, in the meantime, I'm also like working and like life's happening. But yeah, my time spent gaming, I have not spent on those games, even though I'd like to get good at them. So I definitely currently feel the feelings of what this exactly describes. And it's a bummer. It's a bummer in some ways. On the one hand, it's nice because I've been enjoying myself. I've been enjoying playing King of Fighters. It's really fun. It's the first one that I've played since 13, and even 13 I probably didn't play as much as King of Fighters 15 so far. And I've been liking exploring in Elden Ring a lot. It's really fun for that gorgeous game. So many positives about it. And so I've been enjoying myself. So it's hard to be too negative about it. But at the same time, yeah, like I feel kind of disappointed in myself that like I didn't even enter for Texas Showdown, and Combo Breaker's only a month away. Like, can I really like get good again in that period of time? It's gonna be tough. I don't know if
Let me tell you, David, UltraDavid.
It's disappointing. Yeah.
Here's the thing about that. You did the opposite of what every FGC player does.
Yeah.
Every FGC player says, I retire. They go on Twitter and make a twit longer, and they thank all their friends, and I'm quitting playing professionally. And then they don't quit. They just keep playing.
Yeah.
You did the opposite. You said, I'm coming back. I'm coming for you, Tom Brady. I'm coming for you, whoever is top Ninja Killer, Sonic Fox. And then you didn't play.
Yeah.
So you did the opposite of what they do.
I did.
Yeah,
David.
I mean, one of the hard things, though, I think, in your circumstance here, David, one of the differences, especially with what this question is talking about, I feel like, too, is that, you're enjoying the things that are taking you away from fighting games.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it's easy to justify, right? Like, okay, I'm not getting good at Street Fighter V, but I'm having fun with Elden Ring. And, a lot of people out there, are just finding themselves in a situation where, financially they're working two jobs, or they have families and stuff like that, and they're just not in this position to be able to get good when that competitive spirit still burns and stuff. And for me, me, I've been playing like 80 fighting games, and so I can't get good at any of them, and that's like really frustrating for me. Like, so if don't do as I do, don't get super frustrated and like beat yourself up over it. Honestly, the real answer is you can't feel guilty about it. You can't feel bad about it, because in the end, games are games, right? And this is something that we should be doing for enjoyment. And if the pressure to enjoy something makes it so that you don't enjoy it, that's just a level of extra pressure that you don't need to put on yourself. And there are multiple ways to enjoy it. So you want to be good at fighting games. Honestly, like my best period of Guilty Gear XX during that series was because I watched Acho videos like during code compilation like every single day. So, I was just getting better through osmosis. And so that's why when me and my friend play, I could just pick up a random character and start doing some of the combos because I had just seen them a bazillion times, So if you don't have the chance to play them and get good, you can still do so by watching a lot of YouTube. We were talking about this earlier, just absorbing the content, enjoying the content from that casual point of view. But, honestly, all seriousness, you can't let it be a burden on you. Life is going to be more important. And if you do have other things that are serious, like I said, like obviously if you're in the situation that David's in, that's cool, that's great. Enjoy the things that you're going to enjoy and make sure that you're happy out of that. But if you are in a situation where you just feel like you can't play because other stuff, real life, as we describe it, is happening, don't let the games burden you, and hopefully let us content creators, streamers, TOs, all these guys bring you the necessary joy from the genre that you love, that you can enjoy it a little bit casually, and maybe if things get better, you can get back into it. But honestly, that's just the best way to put it. It's kind of sucks to say it this way, but real life is more important. Take care of your stuff, man, and make sure that you can get to that point where you can enjoy the hobby again, honestly.
All right, listen here, caller, whatever your name is, calling in the Ultra 10 show. The truth is, just drop everything. Whatever's getting in the way of fighting games, drop that shit. Prioritize fighting games. Listen, the only way to get rich in life is to sell drugs or become a content creator. So what you do is you go all in on content creation and fighting games. You're going to make tens, maybe even 20s of dollars. So you'll be rich in no time. Yeah,
no time.
It's just
By the way, the opinions of the Ultra Chen TV podcast do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Ultra Chen TV podcast.
I mean, you look at me right now. I'm living my life right now where I am just I'm like Scrooge McDuck, right? I'm basically swimming in money all the time thanks to esports.
Absolutely.
You can go this route, but I just wouldn't recommend it. I mean,
not everybody can carry that many dollars, James.
Dude,
everybody has a limit to how much they can physically carry.
Do you know how many bruises?
Do
you know how many bruises I have from diving into gold coins?
Oh,
it hurts. It's great. It's fun. It's gratifying, but it hurts physically.
Yeah. But imagine.
Look, it's... Yeah, go on.
No, I was going to say nothing of importance. Go ahead.
Okay, well, look. Like I said, I understand the feeling of wanting to get good at something and not being as good as I want to be. But yeah, as James said, it's also not because I'm too burdened by other things. I got work and stuff, but I make time for gaming, and it's just been that my gaming focus has been elsewhere. And right. I find that it's difficult for me to honestly even notice that was happening. Like I said, I turned on Street Fighter 5 yesterday, and I fully expected to do fine.
Listen, bub, if you don't enter Street Fighter 5 at Combo Breaker, you and I are gonna have words.
What's your rank? What's your rank right now in Street Fighter 5, David?
Oh, I'm not even master anymore. I fell into whatever the one is below
Diamond?
that. Like high level diamond.
God, you're fine, dude. You're still good.
Not if I'm gonna get out of pools. No, I'm not in a place where I can do that.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Based off of the New Year's resolution. Yeah, for sure.
Start practicing, you bum.
Yeah. So I've been playing the last couple of days. Yesterday, when I realized that, it wasn't like, oh man, I'm bad at this, I don't want to play anymore. It was like I let myself down in a way. It's disappointment. That was what it was, and I don't want to do that. So I guess my idea now is, I'm almost done with Elden Ring anyway, so that not much time left where that's going to be an issue.
Have you even beat Radon yet?
I have now beaten, dude. By the time I actually played him, I was so over leveled I just beat him in one try. I have 100 hours in that game at this point. I've just put way too much time into it.
Interesting question from Flotas here. What advice do you have for people who have time but are just lazy? Honestly, it's a great question. I find myself doing that a lot of the times too, because I'll be like, I should play, but that means I should stream, but that means I should cat jumps on me. Forget it. I'm done.
It doesn't mean that you should stream.
Right. That's a different. That's a different problem. I have a different problem. I have that problem here because I don't necessarily enjoy streaming fighting games because I get so salty. That's just how I am. I just get salty, and it's not a fun, enjoyable flow playing. I want to be the guy kind of salty. You know what I mean?
What I want to. Yeah. Okay.
Oh no! What I was just about to say is that if you're lazy about it, it's because there's something about it that you're not enjoying. You want to get good at it. You have to find a way to get yourself the joy out of it. So even if it is just sitting there in training mode, like Olaf, for example, he just sits in training mode and just grinds away at KOF, finding tech. And that honestly is his favorite way to play fighting games, you know, and if that will help you. And then for me, I'll do that, but then I just really want to see if what I'm grinding works. And that's what pushes me to go and play online sometimes. So, find the way to enjoy the game. And that will make it so that you will try to play and improve a little bit more interesting. Yeah, I'm planning to do. I want to start community lobby streams for like I do with Soul Calibur for KOF. I just need to figure out a time and date and convince myself that I can be consistent with it, because I'm just, again, I'm lazy. I'm lazy and I discourage myself very easily. So.
Here's the thing about laziness. Laziness isn't a thing. It doesn't really exist.
Just like rivalries.
No, I mean really, like instead something else is happening. Like you're distracted in some way. You're putting things off for some reason. There's some reason that you're putting things off. It's not for zero reason because you're lazy. There's some reason for that. And it's not always easy to figure out why things like that are going on, but like there are reasons that people behave in the ways that they do. It's not for no reason. So, I mean, look, like that's true. It's true for you too, James. It's true for me.
No, I'm only laughing because you say laziness doesn't exist, but that's because you didn't live with my older brother, okay? Let me tell you. Let me tell you.
I have this friend who let their dishes get so bad that their roommate threw the dishes on their bed. And then instead of doing the dishes, they just wrapped up the sheets and threw the whole dishes out.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah,
and
so
so I know
that's not a laziness thing. Yeah, there's
something going on there. Like when I did that, to be clear, there was something happening. Like I definitely described myself as, when I was that age, as being lazy. And I was described as lazy many, many times. And that continued for a long time. But like in retrospect, like, that's just like classic ADHD stuff. It's like I had other depressive issues going on, and it wasn't for no reason. There was some reason. And after having been lucky enough to have like solved some of those issues, or at least been working on them pretty well for a while at this point, I can look back and notice that. So when I'm playing fighting games now, it's whether I'm getting good or not isn't about whether I'm lazy, because really it wasn't about that. It was about whether I was distracted, or whether I was able to focus, or whether I was just depressed, or whatever it was before. Or for a long time it was physical reasons for me personally, but like for most people it's not going to be that reason. So if you feel like you have issues with laziness, easier said than done, obviously, but try thinking about like what is actually going on rather than just describing yourself as lazy and kind of consigning yourself to that.
Yeah. I mean, I've often said before, the main reason why I don't stream fighting games online is because I just don't think I'm fun to watch, because I get so upset and angry and salty, and it makes me feel bad that I make other people feel bad watching me get so salty at fighting games.
It's not at all easy to measure laziness by accomplishment, because while I was so lazy, I'll be honest, man. In my opinion, I was knocking it out of the park in so many different ways. I was killing all of these like major tests. I was getting A's everywhere. I was winning fighting game tournaments. I was doing well in hockey and whatever, like all the stuff.
Well, remember, everybody sucked at fighting games back then, and
it's true. It was a lot easier to win, but like still, I was doing this. So I was in fact getting accomplishments. And it's very lucky to have been able to do that stuff, but like you can't measure whether somebody's lazy by what is in fact being accomplished. That's just not really how it works.
And a lot of things that you probably won't even realize are accomplishments, right? Like the fact that every time I lie down on my couch, Jasmine will come from anywhere in the house running to jump on my chest and like get massages and sleep and like headbutt me and nuzzle me and all this stuff like that. Like I said, she wasn't like that at first. And, honestly, that's kind of an accomplishment for me to have turned her into super, super like lovey kind of affectionate cat. It sounds like I'm being lazy, but, I put in the work for that. I put in the work for that, dude.
Yeah, Brock's got this cat who likes one person in the entire world, and it's him. Like, that is definitely cool.
Yeah.
Look at that little kitty cat. Yeah, that for sure. I absolutely agree that you don't need to define what is an accomplishment, or even like what is how good you want to be in fighting games in the ways that people often do. I think you can think better about that.
Hi. Like, she
Good boy.
used to just
Shout
claw
out to
my
the
face off when I did this. I mean, she's still trying to claw my face off.
DJ Blues, that happens to me too. In fact, it happened to me today. I realized that I wasn't having a great mental day, in part because over lunch I was playing Street Fighter V, and it wasn't just that I wasn't doing very well. It was also like I realized that like part of why I wasn't doing well was like I wasn't really paying attention to what the other person was doing, and like I
Right,
was
yeah, you were
I was tilted
autopiloting.
constantly.
Yeah.
I was just like upset right away as soon as something went wrong in ways that like I don't really usually get like that anymore. So it's, yeah.
Dude, honestly,
it helps me realize how I'm feeling too.
it's one of the most dangerous things, and happens when you stream fighting games too. The longer you go, the more you start autopiloting. But autopiloting is like one of the biggest killers of fighting game performance, because you just stop thinking about what the other person's doing. That's why I always emphasize fighting games are a 2-player game, and
100%.
once you start getting to that point where like, I'm just gonna try my mix up, and not because, oh, I noticed he blocked all the time, so I'm going for... No, you're just like, I'm just gonna do this because this is what I do. Yeah.
All
Fighting
right.
games are
Well,
hard.
hey,
Fighting
by the
games-
way, Fab, good work on the Look Alive broadcast.
Oh, is it done for today then?
Well, I don't know if it's done. I'm not watching it right now,
Okay,
but
okay.
he had a set versus
Doc.
Funk Doc in
Who did?
Jackie Chan.
Jackie Chan.
Who did?
Bobin.
Oh, Spab did. Oh, okay, nice. Okay, nice.
Yeah, good work. That's cool. All right. Anyway, let's move on to the next thing here.
Yep. Just announcement that, offlines are starting to come back. Texas Showdown is coming back and will be taking place in Texas Showdown, as we've mentioned, year after year after year. Used to be one of the 4 Grand Slams in North America. Eventually was passed on to lesser qualified TOs and lost a lot of luster, unfortunately, but has since returned back to its original TOs. And since then, Texas Showdown has slowly but surely been growing into one of the best majors in the States, and is slowly but surely becoming like one of the premier places. So that's taking place this weekend again. Shout outs to Javi and Chris, who are the 2 guys who help run that event and do such an awesome job with it. So really, really happy to see that they're back this year, and that'll be taking place this weekend.
In Houston, and it will have, most of the games that you expect. So check it out if you are somebody who likes to watch fighting games. Is there anybody like that watching the stream right now? Anybody like that right now? Maybe. If so, just in case you like watching fighting games, check it out. There's like TX Showdown Live, and there's also Tampa Never Sleeps, and a whole bunch of other stuff, a whole bunch of other channels that things will be on. So check out, just follow them at Texas__ Showdown to see. I will be there. I'll be commentating Super Turbo and Third Strike and Street Fighter V.
Nice. So it's like,
And I'll be taking a ride on the aeroplane to get there, which as of yesterday, you don't got to wear a mask for. Good work, everybody in the world. Congratulations to all of us. I look forward to sitting next to somebody on the plane who is just hacking up a lung without the courtesy to protect everybody from them. Thanks.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm going to the office tomorrow, and I have no idea how that's going to look. So
jeez. I mean, honestly,
Return
I
to in-person office.
Not getting it for 2 years. Well, I'm not. It's just one day.
Yeah.
I'm work from home. I have to go in like once a quarter or something like that.
right,
But
of course, yeah.
tomorrow's that day for me. So, can't wait to see COVID.
Unfortunately, I won't be at Texas Showdown. I am not going to Texas Showdown this year.
Oh, yeah, me neither.
Solely because I submitted my commentary request too late. But that is due to ADHD and
No special treatment for me.
Sounds like laziness to me.
see, the best thing about understanding that I have this ADHD now, and this is the biggest difference, honestly, I in the past would have just been miserable.
Yeah.
And just
Why did this happen?
absolutely
You don't understand.
beating
I can't believe I let this happen.
myself up. Oh my god. And now I'm like, whoops. And when I talked to Javi, and Javi was like, hey, we're going to stick by the schedule, even though, obviously you're James Chen. And I was like, dude, don't. I'm good. So I will be home. I'll be watching. So I can't wait to see you doing commentary there and such. And like I said, nowadays it's like, oh, well, I get why that happened. And so not beating myself up over it feels good. Honestly.
That is good.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
All right, let's move on to the mailbag.
Okay.
Mailbag.
Mailbag. That was a song that me and my brother used to always sing when we were kids all the time. And I don't even know where that tune came from. But it's just something that we used to always do. And I'm still not even sure where it came from and why I'm using it right now. So, okay, let's see here. Mailbag questions. Let's see here.
Well.
Mr. Midnight via Twitter asked, what character's return to Street Fighter 6 would be the most surprising? I have my answer for that, which is going to be El Fuerte. Because I just don't think that character's coming back ever until maybe Street Fighter 8. And then when that happens, everyone will be like, oh, he's finally coming back. He was my favorite character in Street Fighter 4. I'm so happy. So there you go. I mean, Saddam, yeah, because he just hasn't come back. So there has to be other reasons why he's never shown up.
Street Fighter 5 already.
Well,
He's in the background.
Yeah, he's in the background.
Saddam coming back without a name change would be shocking. I think I wouldn't be surprised to see them come back. They would have a name change.
I mean, the funny thing is, he has an easy name to change to.
Yeah.
Just call him Katana. That's exactly what he was named in American Final Fight. He was not Saddam in American Final Fight. He was named Katana. It's like there's not even a hard decision to make for his American
that's
name.
a pretty terrible name. So.
It is a terrible name, but there's a history to it, right? So
There's already a fighting game character named Katana.
Katana, right? Fair
Spelled
enough.
correctly, James. They totally knew how to spell Katana right back in Midway back in the day.
I'd be very shocked if one of the guys that's punching the other guy at the start of Street Fighter 2 is a playable character in Street Fighter 6.
But that's not a character coming back, though, right?
They were in the Street Fighter. They just weren't playable.
Technically
So
correct. The
I'd be
best
shocked if
kind
one
of
of those-
correct.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
Technically correct.
Change the name but make it worse. We gave up on that joke a long time ago. What's it called now? Eurectum. It's Futurama joke, dude.
Indeed.
God.
So was mine. All right. Good job, everybody. My answer to this is probably just 12. I think 12 is probably never coming back. I would love it if 12 came back. I think the closest we'll probably ever get was 11. 11 came back. Well, was, put into a game for the first time. But as far as like 12 coming back, as much as he deserves it, as unique and interesting as he was, and as, fascinating and pretty of a character as he was, he's just probably not going to come back at this point, unfortunately. But other than that,
the sad thing is, while I do think he's probably one of the worst designed characters visually, and I hate him in Third Strike, but given what the 5 team has managed to do with characters like Oro and Seth, I actually would love to see what they could do with a different kind of 12. I've hated Oro. I've never been a fan of Oro, but now I think Oro is super sick. So,
Oro is cool.
I'm down with it.
All right.
Okay.
That's it. It's the answer. Here we go.
That's it. We did it.
Question
What else we got?
number 2 for the mailbag. Dun, dun, dun. Let's see here.
Sean is going to be a launch character in Street Fighter 6.
That could be.
Dude, I had someone actually tell me that, what they should have did with him is make Sean and then just give him a bunch of cool basketball moves, and I'm totally down with that idea.
Yeah.
Like, it should have been for Street Fighter 5 before Street Fighter's, before Third Strike, because then you could see, like, he had a basketball fireball, and that's why he developed the Hado Burst, because it's kind of like the same kind of concept.
Okay, yeah.
There's a lot of good things you could
His
have
Dragon
did.
Punch and Second Impact had a dunk at the end of it.
Right, exactly, right? You could have seen he could have just had, like, a DP move that was just a dunk, and you could see how it turned into that, kind of thing, so... But Dark via Twitter says, Little Timmy walks into the UCTV fighting game store with his first $60. How do you convince Timmy to spend his $60 on your favorite fighting game?
I got to be honest, little Timmy. He came to the wrong place with that money. And let's go to the local Ralph's. I'll buy you some Fortnite bucks. And just enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself, little Timmy. Make sure you know what you can buy the Ryu. You can buy the Ryu outfit with those Fortnite bucks. And maybe play a fighting game that way. Maybe you'll play Ryu and Chun-Li and
Well, here's what I would do.
Fortnite.
I would say, little Timmy, log into your Epic Game Store account, wishlist Rumbleverse, and just wait, because Rumbleverse is going to be, I imagine, free to play. But you don't have to spend any money, Timmy. You can play the hottest upcoming fighting game for free if you wishlist it on the Epic Game Store, and just wait. You have to save that $60, Timmy.
And I guess that is your favorite fighting game of the moment.
I love Guilty Gear Strive.
Yeah, that's
I
true,
would never try to convince someone to play Marvel 3 at this point, like a brand new fighting game player, not because like you can't learn it, but because it's too hard to find games. It's too hard to get on Parsec, and like there's no way I'm a little 12, 13-year-old kid trying to learn fight. Like I wouldn't do that to them. I would probably tell them to play Guilty Gear.
There's some good 13-year-old kids out there, man.
There are. But it's just look, man, the world of Marvel 3 is not meant for a 13-year-old.
You know what I would say? You know what I would tell them to do? I would say take that $60, go to patreon.com/Fizzi36, give him those $60, download yourself some Slippi, and go play some Melee online. That's what I would say.
There's other aspects. There's other things you have to download to make Slippi work.
People will help you with that, I'm sure.
Yeah,
so.
we can't get into that here on this program where we abide by the laws.
I mean, like, when I was like, how do I get the ROM for a certain game on Fightcade? And people were like, And then I was like, oh, wow. This is ridiculously easy. Never mind. Okay. So
Can't do it.
You go.
It can't be done. Yeah, look, I mean, as a more serious answer to this, I don't feel like it's a good idea to be in the business of trying to goad somebody into playing a fighting game. I'm excited when somebody says that they're interested in playing a fighting game. When I'm playing a fighting game or watching a fighting game and somebody comes by and they are interested in it, that's awesome. And what?
Here's the thing. The question specifically says, though, if you recall, they are walking into our fighting game store.
Yeah.
So they are clearly already interested in fighting games. So,
so they're gonna spend it on a fighting game. Why not the one I want them to play? Okay, fair enough. Sure.
Right.
What game would I get them to play in that? They're gonna play a fighting game, and I want them to play what?
Guilty Gear. KOF.
I mean, honestly, MK11 is not a bad choice because there's so much to do in that game, right?
I feel like that is. I was thinking about saying that. Yeah. There's so much to do in MK11. So if you're somebody who wants to be a competitive player, obviously you can do that. But you can also just like grind the towers, which are different all the time. There's always new things happening in there, literally daily, and there's a lot of one-player content that's in there. There's an actually pretty good story mode in there.
13-year-old, yeah. Actually, that's kind of
You can
fair.
dress up your dolls. You can dress up your dolls even in MK11.
He probably shouldn't be playing a rated mature game.
Whatever, man. What? Come on.
I played everything as a kid. I can't front.
Yeah, and we turned out great.
Yeah, we're fine.
Dude, I watched RoboCop so many times as a little kid, dude.
Yeah,
people getting blown to bits and shit, dude. So.
I mean, yeah, as long as there's somebody around to explain the context, or they're, not morons or whatever, like, Obviously, this generation has not turned out as violent as
So
people
if your
predicted in the
kid,
90s due to violent video
your
games. It just
own
hasn't
kid,
happened.
David, your own kid wants to see
Yeah.
what dad does at Evo, and
Yeah.
you're commentating Mortal Kombat 15, and
Yeah.
it's the most violent version of the game ever because that's just how it's going.
Yeah.
Would you let little David watch that?
I
Clearly
can't
it's
imagine
really weird.
little David not having already seen me play MK15. Right? Like, how could I have lived with another human for until they're old enough to talk and express interest in things without them having seen me play the
I
fighting games that I play?
actually have friends that have kids of that age, 6, 7, 8 years old, that they won't play video games in front of them because of that.
Yeah.
Because they like playing Grand Theft Auto and things like that, and they don't want their kids to see it, so they wait for them to go to bed. And those are the only
Yep.
times they allow themselves to play those type of games.
I know a lot
Do
of
they
people
play
like that
games
too.
with the kids that are more kid appropriate?
Yep. Yeah, they'll
wow.
play things that are rated E or teen at worst.
Dude,
Okay.
And they
one of
won't
my
play
favorite
mature
stories
games
is
in front of their kids.
I had a
Okay.
coworker at my last job that had a PlayStation, I think it was 3 at the time, that their kid did not even know their dad had because it was in dad's office and you're not allowed to go into that office. And the kid always wanted a PS3 and his dad had one. And the kid didn't know until one time, I think an older cousin showed up and the dad was like, "Hey, you want to come play the PlayStation 3?" And the kid was just livid, dude.
Get wrecked,
Yeah.
kid.
It actually doesn't sound very nice. Yeah, I'm kind of with the kid there.
Yeah.
Wrecked kid.
Oh, man.
Well, anything else to say on this?
No, I think I mean honestly, if I had to pick an actual modern fighting game for the kid to pick up, I would probably go with Strive right now. Strive or maybe KOF 15. I think either of those two is a kind of a good choice, but Strive probably more because
Mortal Kombat would be the best choice. But yeah,
I
game with
would
rollback, whatever.
I would pick something. I mean, it sucks to say this, but Mortal Kombat is 2 years old now, right? So I would 3 years old. Dang, God, is it really
It's in
3
the
years?
third year.
Holy crap! Okay, I would only pick KOF and Guilty Gear because they're newer. That's it. That's the only reason why. So
16-bit types. I was 11 when MK came out, and look at me, Ed. She spelled "came" with the K-A-M-E. I don't know, Stephanie.
Just stop making the argument you think it's making.
yeah, or it's making the argument exactly.
Yeah,
as she's trying to
maybe.
make.
Yeah, just really messing around. Yeah. Hey, I hope that during the show you guys haven't been able to hear the beep that beeps loudly in my apartment once every
To be
single
fair, I
minute
haven't heard it.
for the past
Yeah.
4 days. Now you guys haven't heard that? Okay, good. Because just outside of this office, there's a living room there that has had a smoke detector beeping as if its battery is running out for the past 4 days.
And you know
Once
why
every
you
minute-
haven't fixed it? Because you're lazy,
time.
David. Because you're lazy.
Dang, you got it. You nailed me. It turns out, so we live in an apartment, and I asked the guy who does all the maintenance to come in and be like, "All right, dude, we actually don't know where this is coming from. We can't find this smoke detector. Can you please find and shut down this smoke
Find
detector?
it and shut it down.
Shut
now.
it down right away." He couldn't. He spent 20 minutes walking around our apartment trying to find this smoke detector. And then he went to the next door apartment, and he went to the downstairs apartment, and he went upstairs, and there's no smoke detector beeping in those apartments. It's somewhere in the bones of my apartment. We have a haunted ceiling smoke detector that is just not visible and is beeping once every minute for the entire last 4 days.
Who would build a battery-powered smoke detector in the ceiling like that?
You know what
I
this
have-
actually is, James? This is karma for every single time David farted on his brother. Every single time he walked into a room and unleashed a silent but deadly disaster and blamed a different family member. Every single time fart milk was created. This is every beat. This is one
You
for
know-
all of your sins, all of your
still
fart
know-
related sins, David.
There was definitely
Oh
one
no, I
time.
have many months left of the smoke detector
Yes,
beeping in that
it's gonna
case.
go on.
I mean, there was definitely one time a bunch of commentators were hanging out in a hotel room, and David definitely cleared out half of the hotel room. So we all ran to the other side. So
I don't remember that, but that sounds like something I would do.
Yeah, you don't remember all these sins, obviously, because you're getting one a minute. Just to remind you.
One
Dude,
a
the
minute.
telltale smoke
One a
detector.
minute.
It
Yep.
is something guilting you right now.
Something's up there, and it's gotten to the point where today I think I heard it 5 times. It's just becoming part of the bracket. It's like, you know how they say
Part of
that
your life.
when you wear glasses that correct
Yeah.
the world to be upside down, it takes a little while, but then your brain figures it out and it looks normal again. You take the glasses off, and then the world looks like it's upside down, even though it's right side up. That's how it sounds. That's how it feels to me right now. Like I'm getting used to this beeping constantly, and when it stops, I'll probably go crazy again.
I used to have this plug that was supposed to make like some sort of noise that would prevent insects or like, bugs from showing up, and it clicks. It would go like every few seconds, and it was maddening when I first got it. And eventually I just stopped hearing it completely. It was weird. So
That's how it works. But as a result, I haven't slept the best for the past 4 days.
yeah, I couldn't. Do you have white noise generators or anything like that?
Oh man, we're doing our best. Yep.
Okay,
Yep, I do.
okay.
I have those sleep headphones where it's like a headband that you wear, and it's got little
Oh, right.
speakers in them.
Dude,
So
I
I'm doing my
remember
best.
there was one of those IT call, one of those stories that I heard where someone was like asking, I can't fix my computer, it's crashed, what do you do? And the person on the phone's like, can you restart your computer? And he's like, I can't do it. And he's like, hit the power switch. He's like, I can't. And the guy's like, what do you mean you can't hit the power switch? He's like,
This is beans.
He's like, I don't have beans, right? He's like, I just don't have access to the computer. And like, wait, follow the wire from your monitor or whatever like that, and it literally led into the ceiling tiles. Like whatever set up the PCs for this office thought the best idea was to hide all of the PC towers and stuff inside the ceiling tiles and stuff like that. And that was the situation. So
Seems logical to me. Who needs to ever get to the PC tower for any reason ever? No one.
Man.
No one ever needed to.
This is beans.
Oh man, I mean, I'm surprised you haven't just decided to punch a hole in your ceiling and just glance around at this
starting
point.
to get there. Tomorrow I'm going to go down and talk to the manager after having put in a couple of requests
Yeah,
to
but
have this dealt
he's
with.
going to write a strongly worded letter in front of him.
That's right. I'm just going to take my pen and pencil and
Listen, read you.
yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Anyway, we have 1 day left of hawking Manscaped, so you got one more chance to buy some crap. Check it out. It's cool. Thank you to the folks who have sent us pictures that you did. We really appreciate that. That is super awesome.
Awesome stuff there. Buy some amazing wares at manscaped.com. Use the promo code UCTV. Again, if we reach a certain amount, we will discuss future partnerships and continue going forward with them.
Grab your balls by the balls.
Grab your balls by the scrotum.
Dude, Manscaped needs I saw a Manscaped ad campaign. I saw a Manscaped ad on something else I can't remember, and they were using like different people promoting their products on their, from streams and stuff. Now they need to cut out David. Grab your balls by the balls. And
You know you're manly.
Because I think that's the best. I think that's the
good
best
one,
slogan.
to be honest.
Yeah. I don't know why that's making me laugh so much. Okay.
Oh man, San Franciscan. I'm sorry to hear about that. You can send me a DM on Twitter. I can give you a little bit more discussion on that. Or just you can message me on Twitch as well if you don't have a Twitter.
Yeah, for sure.
Also Manscaped.
All right then.
Well, I'm gonna go back into the beep territory.
Well, I'll give you some birds to try to mask the beep sound for now. So,
Beep.
can you guys hear this right now or no?
I can hear it.
Beep.
You can. Okay, cool. Thank you guys for watching. Take care, and we'll see you next week here on the Tuesday show. Peace out.
Beep.